So, you might have already caught the news about a new MMORPG on the horizon, called Brighter Shores, which is funded and developed by none other than Andrew Gower and his brother Paul Gower. Yes, you heard that right. The Gower brothers that originally developed Runescape back in 2001, which the game rose to fame as one of the most beloved MMORPGs globally. Runescape is developed by Jagex, a company that was co-founded by Andrew Gower and his brother. Andrew sold his shares in Jagex in 2010, after realizing that he no longer wanted to be in charge of something so big and have all that responsibility put on him. Selling his shares at the company also made him realize that he would no longer have a significant influence over the direction of RuneScape's development.
You can't have it both ways. Without responsibility, you also don't have the authority. You can't have one without the other. And by trying to make myself less stressed and reduce the responsibility, I'd also reduce the authority. And all of a sudden, I found that I didn't have the final say on things.
It was then also time to start a new studio the exact same year that I quit working at Jagex, known as Fen Research, the studio that is now developing and publishing the game known as Brighter Shores, a point-and-click style MMORPG with supposedly hundreds of hours of gameplay similar to what RuneScape offers. So, what is then really the difference between the current Oldschool RuneScape and Brighter Shores? Well, considering that they are both developed originally by the same dudes, you can obviously expect many similarities, which some of them are. It's a point-and-click game, meaning that you traverse your character in the game by clicking with the mouse. The game has somewhat of a similar art style and graphics to Oldschool RuneScape, or rather, I should say RuneScape 3, you know, the older version of RuneScape that most people don't seem to care about. A huge number of professions and skills to try and level up, which is expected to take many hours, similar to what you would experience on Oldschool RuneScape. Some of the professions are similar to what you would have on there as well, such as fishing, mining, or woodcutting. Now, the monetization is also similar to what RuneScape offers. You can play the game for hours for free, but if you want to unlock more content in the game, you would have to purchase a premium pass. However, there are also some clear differences between these two games that in my opinion would make Brighter Shores stand out and not be regarded as just another copy of RuneScape. Number one is that, from what we understand so far, Brighter Shores will not be pay to win. Well, at least not yet. This topic is often controversial because definitions of pay to win seem to vary, which I've explored in my first video discussing what constitutes pay to win in video games in literally 6 minutes. So, if you want to support your brother, feel free to check that video out. As for Oldschool RuneScape, it's important to note that the game includes a feature called bonds. These bonds can be purchased with real money and sold in-game for gold, effectively allowing players to buy in-game currency legally. It's basically the same as the token in World of Warcraft, so whether you see that as a problem or not for Brighter Shores, that's entirely up to your opinion. My opinion is that this is the best news that we could get out of this game. There are so many MMORPGs that have died left and right due to pay-to-win microtransactions, and it has always been a game killer, so I think this is a W for all of us. In Brighter Shores, although people can level up various professions and skills, the game seems to primarily adopt a class-based structure where players can choose between 3 main classes. So, these 3 main classes are Cryo Knights, Guardians, or Hammer Mages. In contrast to Oldschool RuneScape, where players are not confined to specific roles and can freely develop any skills they choose. Now, there isn't much information yet about these classes, nor any information about artisan classes and things like talent trees and so on. You know, things that you would see in a game like World of Warcraft. However, one thing is clear, which is that we will have a combat bar with actions that the player can execute. Now that we are somewhat close to the topic of gameplay, when you also look at the gameplay of Oldschool RuneScape, you quickly realize that each weapon hit is determined by game tick, which is the quantum of time used in RuneScape, and all actions that require server processing are governed by this value. So for example, when you attack an enemy, you can effectively predict the length of a tick by timing the next attack, allowing for manipulation and other things. This will not be the case for Brighter Shores. According to Andrew, everything happens much more responsively. On their new engine, they have built proper client-side prediction to allow the client to predict what is going to happen without needing to wait for a response back from the server, which would just make the gameplay feel more responsive and fluid. Another big difference is the fact that the game will not be open world whatsoever. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. It will be more like room instance based. So what this essentially means is that players will traverse and transition from one room to another seamlessly, as you can see in the video, where all rooms are connected to each other to form a much larger world. Some rooms will be more focused towards combat, where you fight enemies, and other rooms will be more focused towards marketplaces or, quest NPCs, where you would want to interact with NPCs or maybe buy or sell things. Generally speaking, I believe this design choice is to have a good networking for the game and to avoid having too many crowded places at once. Andrew has stated that there is a player limit for each room, and that depends on the specific room, where, for example, marketplace rooms are allowed to get more crowded than combat-based rooms. If a room were to be full, it would automatically create more instances of that room to keep the gameplay fluid and work well. Now, looking at the video, it seems pretty seamlessly when you transition from one room to another, but we just don't know how it will play out yet. So, if you consider these differences, you would assume already by now that the game is different than RuneScape, but may have the same fundamentals. Right? I mean, think about it. The fact that it is a point-and-click type of game, the fact that you get to level up a bunch of professions and skills, the fact that the game might even have similar quest design where the quests are actually quests and not just kill 20 goblins or go loot 20 bones, etc. These things would effectively make these two games have the same foundation, and chances are, if you happen to like Oldschool RuneScape or RuneScape 3 for that matter, and have played it long enough, you might actually like Brighter Shores and give it a go. Either way, there is still a lot that we don't know about the game, but we'll find out in the upcoming events, especially now during the closed beta this month. So, if you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a like, and if you want to learn more about Brighter Shores and other games where I discuss game design and other interesting aspects, feel free to subscribe and let me know down in the comments below what you made of this. Have a good day, folks.